My guest at this time has been seen in recent months wrestling for WWE NXT, AEW Dark, and GCW. He's going to face Christian Casanova for the Limitless Championship Wrestling title at Double Vision on Friday, March 19th. It is Danny Garcia. Danny, thank you so much for taking the time out of your, it seems to be a very busy schedule to chat with me here today.
Yeah, it's a very busy schedule. I got a lot going on this past couple months, but I can't complain. I'm very glad to be very busy.
Yeah, man. So just real quickly, Danny, I mean, you're 22 years old. You're super young, right?
Yeah, 22.
Man,
I turned 3 in September.
Man, so like, what is it? Just before we kind of get into the nitty gritty of what it's been like to work with these different promotions, of course, this huge match here with Christian before he goes to WWE. But what's it like for you right now, trying to make a name and break into this business at this very weird time in pro wrestling history with the pandemic and everything going on right now?
It's great. I love it. I feel like this is exactly what's supposed to be happening to me right now. I feel like I had a lot of momentum before the pandemic. The pandemic hit. I was basically not wrestling for months. I wasn't on any shows until probably about September. That's when I started getting on shows again.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm really making up for the lost time that I had over the pandemic. And it just feels right. Like the timing feels perfect for everything that's happening to me right now. I've always envisioned myself being in this position, so I'm really grateful to finally be here.
Dude, that's awesome. And so talk to me just a little bit about your background before we get into some of this stuff. So, Danny, like when did you fall in love with pro wrestling? Like when do you first remember like seeing pro wrestling and things like that?
I've been watching wrestling since I was born. My mom and dad were fans of it. They loved it. So I was watching wrestling for literally as long as I can remember. My earliest memories are watching like Goldberg and Sting on WCW when I must have been like 2 years old. And then I have like more vivid memories as I got older of like Eddie Guerrero on SmackDown, Kurt Angle on SmackDown, that type of stuff.
Yeah, for sure. And so when did it click for you that you were like, you know what, I think I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to get into this. I'm going to become a pro wrestler. When did that start for you?
I always wanted to be a hockey player. I was a hockey player growing up.
Okay.
I have dreams of going to the NHL. They didn't come to fruition, obviously, but I always knew I was going to be very successful at something. I didn't know exactly what it was going to be, but I always had like a feeling inside of me that I was going to be very successful. Like, you know how when we grow up, like when we're little, we always think we're going to be like an astronaut or the president or something. But when you get older, that kind of fades away. Like that never really ended up fading away from me. I always had something inside of me where like I knew that I was kind of gonna be able to do whatever I wanted to do. So when I was 17 years old, there's a local promotion called Empire State Wrestling. They run like indie shows. They book like hot indie guys, and they booked Tony Nese versus Johnny Gargano.
Ooh.
And I match and just seeing them, and like I was taller than them at that point, and it seemed very doable to me. That made wrestling seem very attainable for me. And then soon after that, I started talking to Mikey Everynight, who owns a gym here in Buffalo, and he wrestled for Empire State Wrestling at the time. And I started training under him when I turned 18 years old, and then I became a pro wrestler.
Dude, that's awesome, man. Wow. And so here you are now, man. Like you said, you had to take some months off. You get back into it here. And shortly after you came back, then you were working these AEW Dark matches. Like that was very shortly after you had started wrestling again after the break during the pandemic, correct?
Yeah, I don't know if that was my first match back or maybe my second match back. I know I had maybe in September, I think it might have been September, I wrestled against Calvin Tankman at GCW, or not GCW, VXS Wrestling. No, AEW Dark was before that, because I remember I was so excited to be back on the independent wrestling show and just like really like go hard and do my thing. I remember I was excited to be back on that. So yeah, AEW Dark was my first wrestling match back after a global pandemic, which is kind of cool.
Dude, that's cool. That's very cool, but like that's a lot of pressure too, man. So like how do you go from like not doing any shows to getting the call that like, hey, we're gonna bring you in to work with, the second hottest company in the United States right now?
Yeah, it felt right. Like I'm gonna say that a lot this interview. It felt right. It felt like I belonged there, and it felt like I was meant to be there. I'm not gonna say like I don't get nervous for wrestling or anything, because obviously that's natural. Like everyone's gonna get nervous. You get nervous because you care. But as far as pressure, in those types of situations, I don't feel a lot of pressure, because I know in wrestling I am truly one of the best at this, as humbly as possible. I really believe I'm one of the best at this. So in those situations, I go into it knowing that I belong there and that I'm going to succeed.
Yeah.
And I know I put enough preparation in the gym and at the wrestling gym that I was not going to have much ring rust. I knew I was going to be able to go there and feel like I was when I was wrestling full time before the pandemic.
So who reached out to you? How did the appearances even come about?
It's just like any other booking, a promoter or like a one of the executives like reach out to you, and then you just basically say, yeah, I'm available for this date, and then you go in and do the tapings or whatever you got to do.
How is it for you kind of getting in that space and working with agents and like working for TV and stuff? I mean, I'm sure that's a big leap kind of from what you've been doing out on the indies and things like that.
It's great. It's definitely a different challenge than like working on indies when you just kind of go in and you kind of, I'm not gonna say do whatever you want, but it's a lot more free range and a lot more relaxed. And then when you go into a more I guess like corporate environment like a WWE or an AEW or even like an MLW and Evolve, something like that, I feel like it's a different challenge. You're trying to reach different goals. It's not just, oh, I'm gonna go as hard as I can this match. It's you have a different story to tell, which I think is a really cool challenge. And luckily, I was kind of prepared for that. I worked for when I first broke into the business, I started working for this company called Smash Wrestling,
Okay.
and they're a TV company. They were on the Fight Network every single week,
Oh
so
yeah.
I kind of
Yeah.
had a little bit of experience working for a TV company.
Very cool. And here you were doing tag matches for AEW. You got paired up with Kevin Blackwood. Were you familiar? He's quite a colorful character. Were you guys used to working together? First time meeting? Like how did that teaming come about?
Yeah, Kevin is he trains at my school. He started training like a year before me. I hit the road with him like every week. He's one of my travel partners, one of my very good friends.
Yeah, and you guys got to have the Butcher and the Blade match was great, but I'm a big Joey Janela Sonny Kiss fan. Especially somebody who's working GCW and in that group there. What was it like for you to get to work with Joey, especially in like a space with AEW and Sonny too?
It was good. I really like Joey and Sonny. They're both very talented. They're a really good contrast of style to both me and Kevin. So I feel like it was a really good pairing, and we put on a very entertaining match.
Yeah, and what was the feedback? Did you get to hear anything from the agents, Tony Khan? Like, what's the vibe? Do you feel like you left a good impression when you were there?
I think I left a good impression. It was cool.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, then flash forward here, man. Like, as a child that like watched Goldberg sing, so you're familiar with the Monday Night War and all that, right? Here you are, what they call the Wednesday Night War, right? You're on AEW Dark, which isn't quite Dynamite, but man, you're doing AEW, and then just a couple months later, you wind up on WWE NXT. That's crazy, man. I can only think of a very small handful of people that have gotten to work both these companies here in this kind of period of time. How did this one come about? How do you go from doing AEW, you take a little time, and then you show up over in NXT?
You just grind it out, and hopefully somebody notices you, and then you get noticed, and then you impress, and then you get good opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. And you worked with Tyler Rustin, one of my favorite voices in the entire business, Malcolm Bivens, man. Like, what you're on live TV. I mean, we're not. I mean, you talk about the pressure on AEW Dark, and you talk about how you like to step up to it. But what's it like for you to be in that moment there, in that ring with a guy who's breaking out like Tyler Rustin? You got Bivens on the outside yelling at you, and knowing that everybody's watching you right there in that moment, live on TV.
Yeah, Tyler Russ is very talented. He's a lot of people don't realize the experience that he has. He's wrestled all over the world and has years and years and years of high level experience. And he's extremely talented. And Malcolm, I was on the indies with him. I know him. Um, and again, like it felt like I belonged there. It felt very low pressure. It felt like I was built for the moment, and I feel like I was fully ready for it.
And so when you're working in NXT, obviously, Triple H is in charge of everything. Was he giving you input? Was he helping you to work on the match at all in any way? Or was this just something where you were working with a separate kind of agent, anything like that?
No comment on that.
Okay, no problem. That's fine. Well, cool, man. Well, let's talk about Limitless Wrestling. So this is a really big thing you're doing here, man. You're gonna get to have this big title match with Christian here just before he's been announced as part of the latest Performance Center class. Um, what is first of all, how did you get hooked up with Limitless Wrestling? Let's start there. What is your history like with this company?
Limitless Wrestling, I believe I had my first match for them maybe back in like 2018. Kevin Blackwood, my training partner, he was booked on one of the shows, and I would go and ride with him before I was booked on the shows. I would just go like tag along, try to show face. That's how it is in indie wrestling.
Sure.
And eventually, I showed enough face, and Randy Carver, the promoter, he gave me an opportunity. I believe I was in like a scramble match with a bunch of guys from Ohio, like Sammy Callahan, Ace Austin, Matt Cross, Jessica Havoc, and I think like Nick Moretti from Australia. I was in a scramble match with them, and it went well. I lost, but it went well. And then after that, I was put into a tag team with my trainer Brandon Thurston, and we were up against John Silver and Jay Freddy. After that, I had an injury, was out for like a year, or no, not a year. I was out for like 5 months, and then I came back, and I really started to build momentum. I started to beat people or face people like Fred Yehai, Chris Statlander, Ashley Vox, like staples at independent wrestling. That's kind of how I ended up growing my brand in that one promotion. And that promotion, it's like one of the hottest independent promotions right now. They have a lot of eyes on them. And whenever you wrestle for them, it's a really big opportunity to get some eyes on you.
Yeah, and Limitless, all of the champions have gone on previously to be signed by major promotions and stuff. And here you are right now. Everybody can kind of see Christian, looking at the door. I mean, all the eyeballs are on you here in this moment, Danny. I mean, how does that feel knowing you're kind of stepping into that spot here in this moment?
It's not done yet. It feels great. But I have to win the title. Christian, I know he's going to be he's going to WWE. It's no secret. But Anthony Green, he left with the title. He just vacated it, and Christian plans on doing the same. And I'm a big fan of tradition in pro wrestling. Tradition is you do not leave unless you lose the title. You go out on your back, and I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that tradition stays. And he goes on his back, and I end up Limitless champion.
So what do you think of Christian Casanova? What do you think fans can expect from him when they get to see him on a bigger platform here?
Christian's an extremely close friend of mine, one of my closest friends in wrestling. He is everything that a professional wrestler should be. He's in fantastic shape. He can talk. He's athletic. He has like the it factor. He has everything. He reminds me of like a Eddie Guerrero kind of. He's like one of my favorite wrestlers to watch, Christian Casanova. He is going to make so much money and be so successful if given the right opportunities in the WWE.
And so, what do you think? What kind of a match here do you think people are going to see? I mean, is this going to be technical? Is this going to be brawling grudge? Like, what do you think fans will see when they tune in here to watch this bout?
Whatever works. It's going to be whatever works. I'm going to do whatever it takes to take the title from him. I love Christian, but I don't care if I have to. I don't care if I have to really hurt him to take the title. I'm going to make sure that tradition stands the test of time, and I walk out of the building with Limitless Championship, and he goes to WWE without it.
And so, that's, big words there. And then just beyond that, man, you are also all over this WrestleMania weekend, dude. You've got what? I think it's like 8 matches in 3 days coming up here in just a couple
matches in 3 days. 8 matches in 3 days.
Dude, talk to me a little bit about what you're doing here. Like, what's your mindset as you're walking into this big weekend? Last year WrestleMania weekend kind of obviously fell apart. This year, I feel like it's getting back to where it was, kind of oddly enough.
A lot of people are in wrestling for the for like money and for opportunity and for contracts, and I think that's good. I feel like whatever your goals are, you should chase after them. If you want to make the money, go make the money. If you want to sign, go sign. I'm in professional wrestling to create my legacy and to go down as the greatest wrestler of all time. And WrestleMania is my I believe that's my platform to show that I'm one of the best wrestlers in the world right now. When I have 8 shows in 3 days and I have the match of the night on every single the card that I'm on, no matter how tired I am, no matter how sore I am, that's going to solidify me as one of the best wrestlers in the world. And I'm going to be undeniable after that.
So as you're going about, crafting your legacy out here, Danny, I mean, who are the opponents that you want? What are the titles, moments? Like, what are the things that you're looking to accomplish here in 2021 and kind of going forward as well?
That's a good question. I want it all. There's a lot of rumors and a lot of questions about my career going on right now that I see on the internet. I may not acknowledge them, but I see everything. I see everything that's said about me. Okay. And there's a lot of questions that I'm not going to answer yet. Okay. I think that's good. I'd like there to be a lot of not controversy, but I'd like there to be a lot of up in the air about me. I want people to be wondering what my next move is. So with that being said, everything. I don't know if I want the NXT title. I would like the ROH title. I would like the AEW TNT title. I want it all. And I feel like if anybody can, it's me. I mean, you've seen me. I was on AEW. I was on NXT. Who knows what's next for me? Maybe I'll pop up on another major company. Maybe I'll decide to go back to one of those companies. Nobody really knows.
Yeah, I mean, there's, it's more opportunities popping up right now. You mentioned Ring of Honor, right? They're back up and running. New Japan Strong, man, that's another one where they've kind of crafted together a kind of hodgepodge of great American talents that kind of, not found a home quite yet. If that resonates with you.
Yeah, New Japan Strong is definitely something that I'm very interested in the near future.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, Danny, we'll wrap it on a tease then. Where do you want to send people to find you, follow you, support you, all those other things, Danny?
You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Garcia Wrestling. Same handle on both.